Let's start our discussion of risk and return with an introduction. So first, let's ask the question, what is investment risk? Well, there's two types of investment risk. The first is standalone risk, and the second is portfolio risk. So investment risk is related to the probability of earning a low or negative actual return, because we consider risk as just the probability of a negative outcome. And so if we apply risk to investments, then that negative outcome would be a low or negative return. So the greater the chance of lower than expected or negative risks or negative returns, then the riskier the investment. So let's look at probability distributions. You've probably seen this before in your statistics course, but what a probability distribution does is it gives a listing of all the possible outcomes and the probability of each occurrence. So it's not really a listing in the sense that you see the outcome and the probability, but that listing is actually being graphed or represented graphically. So that means the area under this curve is composed of all of those possible combinations. And so what that means then is that firm X, the one with the blue curve, has many more possible outcomes in this tighter area that kind of hover we're right here at 15%, where most of them are at 15%, whereas firm Y also has the majority of their outcomes at 15%, but they have what we call wider tails, meaning that there's a greater possibility of these very negative outcomes as well as these very positive outcomes. Now, just to give you a sense of what risk and return looks like for certain securities, here are the realized return from 1926 to 2012 for different categories. Don't memorize this, but what you should be realizing here is that there's a risk and return trade-off. The riskier the security, the higher the return. So we're measuring risk with standard deviation. And so the higher that standard deviation, the higher the return. So small company stocks are riskier than large company stocks. Corporate bonds are riskier than government bonds. And T-bills are the least risky. So what we'll do next is work through a hypothetical example.